Welcome in to the One South Coast Chamber podcast, the official podcast of the One South Coast Chamber serving the business communities of southeastern Massachusetts. Today, I'm your host, Ian Trombley, Vice President of Public Policy, and this is the Policy Pulse, an episode where we discuss different public policies and the impacts they have on the business community here in southeastern Massachusetts. So for today's episode, we're joined by Tracy Barbosa from Fall River Arts and Cultural Coalition, aka FRACC. Tracy, welcome in.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So this is your first time on the podcast. We're glad to have you. But for those who haven't met you or heard about FRACC before, you want to tell us a little about yourself and what FRACC is and what you guys do?
Sure. FRACC, as you just said, is the Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition. I just said that, known as FRACC.
Also known as FRACC, yeah.
FRACC. We're a subcommittee of the One South Coast Chamber, of which you belong yourself.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And FRACC was created in 2019 in solidarity with the creative community to amplify the need for creativity in the culture of Fall River as far as small business, traditional arts and culture, creating and keeping a beautiful place to live, and advocating for artists on a statewide and municipal level, as well as across the South Coast.
Yeah, and you do a really incredible job, I'd say. How long have you been on board with FRACC now?
1 year.
That's it? Wow,
Yeah.
You've done a lot in 1 year, it feels like.
Thank you.
And what I like that you've done, and I believe you came from New Bedford, is that right?
Yes.
So there's a clear effort, I think, from FRACC and the folks over in New Bedford and across the whole entire South Coast to kind of use this region to amplify the arts and culture sector and the creative sector, not just in Fall River or New Bedford, but across the entire South Coast, because our local economy is so based. I mean, our museums, our music venues, our art galleries, and and the list goes on, and even food to an extent, right? Like our creative food sector. And I think you've done a great job amplifying that voice to really enhance not just Fall River, but the entire South Coast.
Yeah, thank you. Our sister city, New Bedford, where I live, I've been there for about 15 years as a working artist, and have contributed to and admired and studied the work that city has been doing as far as leading arts and culture and keeping it in the realm of conversation when we're talking about policy making, when we're talking about our region.
Yep.
There has to be someone leading the charge to keep that subject up in the front of conversation. So I think FRACC is the complement to that in Fall River. Fall River is a very different city.
Yep.
It's in a different place, which poses immense opportunity for artists to find spaces here and to grow, and in their own very particular way.
Right. And like I was mentioning, arts and culture has such an impact on the economy, but it's easy, I think, for people who live in our region or people who work in our region to kind of not realize what impact it really has on the economy. You walk around, you see the beautiful murals, you walk around, you enjoy the great music. These things are just happening in our daily life, and sometimes, I don't think we necessarily, I'm not saying we underappreciate it, we do appreciate it, but we're not realizing the effort that goes into creating such a vibrant and, creative city and community.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's like breathing.
Yeah.
The creativity is something that is intrinsic to the human condition. That's why we're here now with all of the technologies that we enjoy. That's creativity.
Yeah.
And we are the descendants of all of that. So it's kind of easy to, if you're not paying attention, it's easy to sort of think of arts and culture as like it's a painting on a canvas.
Yeah,
it's very defined, and isn't that nice? But it's not necessary.
Yes.
And I think that is a very simplified way to look at things, because when times are hard, when we need help, when you need to reconnect, you turn to art to do that.
Right.
Whether it's your favorite song or you take time to create whatever it is you create, your garden, your cakes, your clothing. There's just so many outlets that need to be supported and also respected.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm here to do.
Absolutely. So we're also excited to have you in this month because for those who listen to the South Coast Scoop that me and Katie did, ArtWeek SouthCoast has just come to a close, right?
That's right.
So how did that go? Can you want to give us a little bit of a recap? We talked about some of the events that would be coming up. Tell us how it went.
Yeah. It was
and what it is really, if you don't mind.
Yeah. A few years ago, a few arts and culture organizations in the South Coast, particularly Bristol County, came together and wanted to identify a time that we could really amplify and celebrate all the amazing arts and culture activities that happen in the South Coast. And this year, it was spearheaded by the South Coast Community Foundation, which really gave it a boost for outreach. So originally, it started just with this immediate area, Fall River, New Bedford, around this spot. And now it's grown to all of Bristol County, and it was basically amplifying over 100 events that were happening across Bristol County, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So that kind of coordination and celebration of arts and culture in our region is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. So you think a successful week?
Yeah, I think it was
a little more, 10 days or 9 days.
Yeah, it was a little more than a week. It was more like 2 weeks. We wanted to engulf 2 weekends in that spot.
Yes.
But I can speak to my FRACC's own events, which were really well attended, and it was a really beautiful weekend. And we had the lighting of the We Here mural on which is the old Herald building. In 2022, we had the artist Ad Fuel come and create this beautiful mural called We Here. And it is a modern take on the Portuguese traditional azulejo style. And Ad Fuel is a world-renowned artist. And to my dismay, it was never lit.
Yeah.
And I think that we're missing out on this huge opportunity to have all of the 100,000 cars a day driving across the Braga Bridge to witness this beautiful piece of art at night. And it describes and celebrates the Portuguese culture and the future of our culture in the city. So FRACC's job is to really celebrate all of those things. So we're really proud that we were able to work with our partners at the Isosceles Alliance. It's a group that came together about a year ago to light up downtown.
Awesome.
And to make the hillside slowly pop with light on all of the beautiful steeples we have and the architectural assets, as well as the many pieces of public art that are around the city now.
Yeah. Oh, that's important. And I heard great feedback on that lighting. Our CEO, Michael Sullivan, I believe, attended and said it was really neat. That is great. The amount of cars that are coming over, 195 over the Taunton River and kind of entering Fall River. It's like, we really should be showing off, some of this great art that we have. So
we got the billboards lit. Like let's light the art too.
Good point.
And I think I guess I specialize in things that go unnoticed because I think lighting is also one of those things that you can enter a public space and either feel completely scared and lost, or you can be guided by light.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that in many things that are designed well, you don't notice it if it's designed well.
Right.
It's just working.
Right.
So you don't feel the push.
Yeah.
So there's this saying, 99% invisible. You might have heard of that. There's a show by that name, and it is all about design, and good design is 99% invisible.
Interesting.
So when something is well lit, when something is well done, it looks easy, like that kind of dynamic. So people just don't realize the amount of work, talent, observations, timing, planning that goes into highlighting something like that.
Yeah.
And it's lit now every night forever, thanks to many partners that donated to it. So it's a real win, I think, for the city and for culture in general.
Yeah.
And it seems like such a simple thing, lighting.
Yeah, but you are right. I mean, a lot of cities a lot of cities or towns, you don't get this almost like a bird's eye view as you enter it, kind of like you can in Fall River with the Braga Bridge, right?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful hillside, over the Tyne River, and it's a great, it's you're right. It's not something I've thought about, but now that you're bringing it up, it's important to have that well lit, show off our beautiful city that we have right here.
Yeah, there's just amazing architectural elements here that are unlit.
Yeah.
Understandable,
Right.
but when you have a group like the Isosceles Alliance that is just kind of focusing on that,
Yeah.
and we get together and have a great time and take walking tours, and we've got our plans, some upcoming things. So I think that FRACC being a partner in something like that, where you are raising up those assets of the city, where we're talking about that part that has its beauty and it has its spiritual function.
Right.
And I think that goes for FRACC amplifying local artists as well.
Yeah.
Like that is our job, to go to the State House, to go to the municipality, to show off the wonderful things that are being done here, and to report the good work, because it's very often not reported.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great transition, right? This is a Policy Pulse episode. This work, isn't happening by accident, right? It takes work from all partners within government, out of government, state level, local level. So I want to talk about some of like the public policy initiatives, right? We have, as we've mentioned over and over again already, the creative sector has enormous impacts on the South Coast, the economy. We need to make sure that from the chamber's perspective, it's a huge it plays a huge role. And I think I've said this 4 times already in this show. Plays a huge role on our local economy. The restaurants, the local businesses, the downtowns rely on this. So we want to make sure we're supporting the work that you're doing and you're leading on in the public policy effort. So we've worked together with legislative breakfasts in the past. What are you looking? Is there anything in particular looking at currently? So for our listeners as well, where we are from a state standpoint, it's May right now. The legislative session is going to be coming to a close formally the end of July. So there's going to be a lot of activity up on Beacon Hill as we come to a close, and there'll be a push. But then again, there's a lot of work that will be done as a new session starts next winter. So thoughts, goals, anything that you would like to kind of see come to fruition?
Yeah. Part of FRACC's mission, as I said, is to represent Fall River and the South Coast in the policy realm. And we are closely bound with the work of Mass Creative. Which is an amazing organization that is advocating for arts and culture in the state. One way I think about Mass Creative is it's an arts lobby. In the past, the arts is always the one that's the budget is cut for, the money is taken away. I recall growing up in the public school system, and every single year we had less and less. And so why is that? That's because there's no one at the State House saying, no, we need this. And that is what Mass Creative does for all creative efforts in the state, and the work they do is amazing. So FRACC really tries to follow that and suit, and we so appreciate their guidance and support with the work of Mass Creative. Every year they have a creative sector week. And during that creative sector week, FRACC held a policy roundtable for local and state representatives. And we held that at the Narrows Center for the Arts, and we had about 50 people show up, which was a beautiful thing for the creative community in Fall River.
Yeah.
To have these artists of all kinds feel empowered to come to a conversation with our city councilors, our state reps,
Yep.
and just it was guided, of course,
Yep,
and
yep.
I myself am learning how to be a moderator in that way with
Yeah.
public sessions, which was amazing, and I think there's always that question from anyone in any sector. How can we get more money for the sector
Yep,
here, right?
yep.
Like when you're asking your state rep, like more money for the arts. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You have to come to your state rep with a plan,
Yep.
right? You have to be unified. You have to know what you're asking for and have a plan for that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that roundtable was a wonderful moment where many people in that room were like, oh, so this is how FRACC can work
Have
for
an impact
us.
on
We
us. Yep,
can
absolutely.
create this unified voice and a plan.
Yeah.
And there have been iterations of plans previous to me with the previous director who did an amazing job, Ashley Okino.
Yep.
So I follow her suit and try to amplify her work as well. And there's just, as I said earlier, there's just amazing opportunity in Fall River with underutilized properties.
Yep. Okay.
And currently there's an act in the State House that's put out called the Creative Space Act.
Okay.
And it is an act to support identifying municipal buildings and turning those into creative land trusts.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
creative spaces.
Okay.
So perhaps it's an artist's workspace, perhaps it's a museum, perhaps it's a study space, and that building will be. It enables the municipality to create a cultural trust so that there can be money that is dedicated to arts and culture in that city, as well as this building that is seated as an arts and culture landmark.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I am 100% for it.
Yeah.
I think that we have cultural assets in Fall River that deserve that kind of security.
Yeah.
And Fall River Museum of Contemporary Art being one of those.
Okay.
As well as dedicated artist workspace and incubator space that could be defined much like the Star Store is now in New Bedford.
Yep.
So the work that the Arts and Business Council is doing there is really inspiring, and I'm following that closely.
Right.
FRACC attended the Artist Thrive I always say concert because it sounds like a conference. Artist Thrive conference in
just as fun as a concert.
Right. It felt fun like that. It was at Western Ave Studios in Lowell.
Okay.
Which is an amazing compound of over 400 artist studios.
Oh wow.
That is really, it's I think at capacity.
Yeah.
Now they have a housing element there. There's just this nexus of art there that is secure.
Yeah.
These people don't have to worry about their rent going wild.
Right.
They're able to create and stay.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do here in FRACC. We want to foster an environment that artists can stay.
Yeah.
And build.
Yep.
And own.
Yeah, totally. And you see sometimes going back to, you don't realize it's there, but until it's gone, right? So we've noticed some impacts with, like, when the Star Store kind of closed for a short time. Now it's back, which is great. But we felt the impacts downtown. When the Z closed for great renovations, you feel that everyone downtown feels the impacts. They're open and they're doing great work. But it's important to create these things that sometimes, might not. The general public might not be aware of, but things are happening. It's bringing people into the city. It's bringing people into restaurants and businesses. So I do like that. And the work Mass Creative is really, they do a great job. They have a full policy agenda for each session. I suggest anyone go look at their website. I think they have 6 or so different bills that they're kind of, supporting and advocating for. And one really cool story, a success story, was the Downtown Vitality Act, which a couple years ago was sponsored by New Bedford's own state representative, Tony Cabral. And the idea was to take 5% of the online sales tax and redistribute it to downtowns and the creative sectors in downtowns that might be suffering from some of the impacts of these large online marketplaces, right? And I remember going to a listening session in downtown New Bedford for that and advocating for that and talking about it at some legislative breakfasts. And it's a long process with any piece of legislation, right?
Yes.
And it changes. And then last session, they got it across the finish line through a huge economic development bill, which was really cool because, as we've been saying, the impact on economic development is massive from the arts and culture sector. So that was a really great, and kudos to you and Mass Creative for all the great work you guys did on getting that across the finish line.
Yeah. It's I'm proud to say, as a working artist that had my own studio, was living in New Bedford, I was right on board with the beginnings of Mass Creative, was one of their first advocates, and sat in on those early listening sessions while creating the whole mission.
Right.
And have always been on board with amplifying the South Coast.
Yep.
As you may know, I worked for Mass Development for a few years as a TDI fellow, and was able to really understand the impact of the downtown and how important it is to advocate for arts and culture in those spaces.
Right.
One thing I will say about Mass Creative, that overall, just the function of the website.
Yep.
And I'm speaking directly to artists and creatives, but also those who believe in arts and culture, to follow Mass Creative site, and they make it so easy to just click through and send a letter to your legislator about this subject. Here's how you get involved. Here's the next step. Here's what you can do. Yeah. And it's been a really amazing guide for us.
Yeah.
So,
no, they do great work. And they do a good job. Really important piece of advocacy is translating something that is really complex into something that legislators are an inch deep and a mile wide. They got to cover everything from arts and culture to healthcare to education, transportation, right? So Mass Creative does a really good job of making a relatively complex issue, right, in funding for arts and culture into something that, a story that makes sense, you know, and that people can get behind. And that's important.
Making noise behind that story. Right. And while I was at Mass Development, we interacted with Mass Inc., who is a think tank in Mass. And there was this interesting map that I saw about investment from the State House into different areas of the state. Okay. And that the South Coast is sort of a dead zone. Yep. And the reason for that is geographic. We kind of belong to Rhode Island. Right. We watch Rhode Island TV. Mm-hmm. We go to Providence for our fun and for our dinners. Right. We are so close to Newport. I mean, we are, topographically Rhode Island and identified that way. So if we're not making that concerted effort to bang the drum and be like, yeah, we're here too. Absolutely. And to drag, but in a way, drag artists up to the State House from this area. Yeah. And identify ourselves as part of the state. Otherwise, we're not, and I feel like that was a really aha moment for me, because I'm very fascinated by the physicality of cities and how every city has its own personality. And that has to do with the way the city came up, why it's there. Totally. Is it on the river? Is it on the ocean? Absolutely. And does it have a highway cutting it in half, like Fall River? Right, and New Bedford, right? 195 cuts right directly between two of our two cities, right in half. And So there's that dynamic there, like, why don't we see funding for this in this area? Well, the reason is we need to make noise. And we need to show up and ask for things, and not just ask, but have a plan.
Yeah.
And that's what FRAC and New Bedford Creative and all of these groups like Mass Creative are trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think there's been a general feeling for a while, right, that the South Coast in particular is kind of that forgotten stepchild, right, up at the State House.
Yeah.
And we've had to fight and claw and pull our way to kind of, get what's ours. And I do think there's been a shift over the last few years in particular, thanks to like Chairman Mike Rodrigues, who represents where we're sitting right now as the chairman of Ways and Means, and several other efforts, right? Our delegation is really, I think, punching above their weight as of recently, and I think it's not by accident, right? It's because of the work that you're doing. It's because of the work that I like to think that we're doing. It's because of the work that our large employers, the hospital systems, are doing. It's a joint effort, and I think, knocking on wood here, if you're not watching, but I think that it's going to continue in that way. But we need to keep our foot on the gas.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and it's constant. I was proud to bring 11 artists from Fall River to the State House for Creative Sector Day. Last year we had 3.
Yeah.
So we want to like really make noise and have solidarity there and belonging, and the breadth of artists that we brought, I really am proud of. Like, we had a hip hop artist, we have painters, we had printmakers, we had a video artist, like they were all different in all ages. So I think that that's something that the arts, I wish I recorded some of the conversations at our lunch table with these people that normally would never collide,
Right.
And it was the most fun.
Yeah.
And Senator Rodrigues gave us a State House tour.
Oh, cool.
And, we got to see the Teagle, the turkey eagle above the Senate. So it was... He's been a really great advocate and there to hear us, and so hasn't Representative Fiola and Woulette, and all of these people are showing up for us and really seeing that wave of interest. Another policy move that FRAC has been making locally, and largely because of the influence of the work we've been doing with Mass Creative, is we've created a Fall River Artist Policy Group.
Okay.
And this group meets just about once a month, and we talk about local policy in a very approachable way. These artists typically do not feel empowered to show up at a council meeting to understand what's going on. So this starts as a safe space to be like, what is the redevelopment authority? What is that? And how we can talk about how that relates to arts creation and stability and sustainability in our area. And what I mean by that is, particularly in the Creative Space Act and in the new development happening in the waterfront, how is it possible to create a % for the arts program with so much development happening on our waterfront? Should we not make it ours? Truly of Fall River, and highlighting artists and makers in those spaces, whether it's a mural or whether it's an open public space that has in a mosaic or some kind of sculpture, and all of these things are resourced locally. And I think that I'm trying to get in those rooms to talk about that and to really push the influence of thinking about arts integration in new development before it's too late. Because it really is affordable when you plan it, rather than, oh, we built this thing, now wouldn't it be nice to get an artist on a lift 40 feet up? Well, if you planned, you could have had that created first and built it up so the artist doesn't have to go up there and it costs half as much. And so there's a lot of positive effect that planning can have that FRAC is here to help with.
Absolutely. And you see, I mean, when you invest in the arts and culture, like in a municipality, like particularly a local municipality, the return on investment is enormous. You see that when you invest, you get that, whether it's in the arts, the culture, whether it's in the history, whether it's in entertainment or tourism. The dollars come back to you when you invest in arts in our community. So I do think that's a worthwhile discussion to be had.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else that you'd like to, cover that our listeners, might be interested in hearing about?
Well, if you want to know more about FRACC, just look up the FRACC.
The FRACC.
FRACC. Just look me up on the internet, and you'll find all sort of cool things we're doing.
Any socials? Any social media?
Yeah, the same.
Okay.
The FRACC.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a fun conversation, and we definitely need to have you back on to discuss, maybe some new initiatives in the next session too.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Tracy. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us today on the One South Coast Chamber Podcast's Policy Pulse edition. Today's podcast is produced by Stephen Rice, Fall River Community Media. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, and leave a review of the show wherever you get your podcasts. Also, remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at One South Coast Chamber for daily updates, along with TikTok and YouTube for fun videos and content.